My name is Sophie, 32 years old, and I've always been the quiet one in my family. It's June 16, 2025, and I'm sitting in my childhood bedroom, the one I haven't slept in since I moved out a decade ago. The air smells of dust and old memories, photos of my mom on the dresser, her laugh still echoing in my mind. She passed away 3 months ago, leaving me with a hollow ache and a will I thought would honor her love. Instead, it's brought me face to face with betrayal from the last person I expected, my stepbrother, Ethan. Mom married Ethan's dad, Richard, when I was 12, after my father's death. Ethan was 10, a wiry kid with a knack for trouble. We never bonded, our parents' marriage felt more like a merger than a family. But Mom was my rock, teaching me resilience through her struggles as a single mom before Richard. She built a small fortune with her bakery, Sweet Haven, and a house in Portland worth over $800,000. I helped her with the books growing up, dreaming of taking over one day. Ethan, though, was always more interested in spending than building. After Mom's funeral in March, Richard handled the will reading. I expected to inherit Sweet Haven and half the estate, given my years of support. Ethan was there, smirking, as Richard read the document. My heart sank. Mom's will had been changed a month before her death, leaving everything to Ethan. She wanted me to carry on her legacy, he said, his voice smug. Richard nodded, claiming Mom's health had clouded her judgment, but I saw the lie in their eyes. I demanded the original will, but Richard said it was lost. I knew Ethan had manipulated her, likely during her final chemo sessions when she was too weak to argue. I spent weeks digging. I found old emails from Mom, praising my dedication to the bakery, and a draft will from 2 years ago splitting the estate evenly. Ethan had no role in Sweet Haven, he'd barely visited in years, preferring his flashy life in LA. I confronted him over a video call, my voice shaking. "You forged that will, didn't you?" He laughed. "Prove it, Sophie." Mom chose me. I hung up, rage fueling my resolve. I wouldn't let him steal what was mine, not without a fight. I started gathering evidence. I contacted Mom's lawyer, Mr. Grayson, who admitted Ethan had pressured him to revise the will, citing Mom's verbal request. Grayson handed over a signed affidavit, shaky but authentic. From her last days, Ethan had been there, alone with her. I also found bank records showing Ethan withdrawing $50,000 from Mom's account weeks before her death, labeled family support. It was theft, plain and simple. I saved everything, screenshots, statements, the affidavit, on an encrypted drive, my hands trembling with each discovery. At work, I'm a paralegal, so I know the legal ropes. I consulted a friend, Tara, a probate attorney, over coffee. "Sophie, you've got a case," she said, scanning the documents. "Undue influence and fraud could overturn the will, especially with Grayson's affidavit. But it'll be a battle. Ethan's got Richard's money behind him." I nodded, deciding to sue. Tara drafted a petition, and I filed it with the court on June 10th. The process would take months, but I had time. Ethan texted me, "Back off, or you'll regret it," but I didn't reply. My silence would be my strength. That night, I visited Sweet Haven. The bakery was quiet, its ovens cold since Mom's passing. Ethan had hired a manager, a stranger who barely knew the recipes. I baked a batch of Mom's signature cinnamon rolls, the scent filling the space, tears mixing with the dough. This was my legacy, not his. I decided to fight for it, not just the money, but the memory. My plan was forming: expose Ethan's lies, reclaim the bakery, and turn his greed against him. The next day, I started a subtle campaign. I posted on a local community forum, hinting at family disputes over a beloved bakery, without naming names. Responses poured in. Customers loved Mom's work, not Ethan's. I contacted old staff, who confirmed Ethan's disinterest. By June 15th, a petition to save Sweet Haven's soul gained 200 signatures online. Ethan called, furious. "Stop this, Sophie, or I'll sell the place." I hung up, letting his threat fuel me. My next move would be decisive, and he wouldn't see it coming. The days after launching the online petition felt like walking a tightrope. June 16, 2025, started with a flood of messages, local bloggers picking up the Save Sweet Haven story, customers sharing memories of mom's cinnamon rolls, and even a few old employees offering to testify. I sat at my kitchen table, scrolling through the support, a mix of hope and nerve swirling inside me. Ethan's threat to sell the bakery loomed large, but this groundswell gave me leverage. I knew I had to act fast before he could liquidate everything. I met Tara again that afternoon at her office, a cluttered space filled with law books and coffee cups. She'd reviewed the court filing and had news. "Sophie, the judge has scheduled a preliminary hearing for July 15, she said, handing me a summons. "We need to prove undue influence, Ethan manipulating your mom during her illness. Grayson's affidavit helps, but we'll need more." I nodded, suggesting the bank records and staff testimonies. Tara smiled. "Perfect. I'll subpoena Ethan's financials too. Let's see if that $50,000 withdrawal holds up." I felt a surge of confidence, my plan was gaining traction. Ethan didn't waste time. That evening, he called, his voice sharp. "Sophie, take down that petition, or I'll sue you for defamation." I stayed calm. "Prove I lied, Ethan," I said, hanging up. The next day, a cease and desist letter arrived, demanding I stop the campaign. I forwarded it to Tara, who laughed. "He's bluffing. It's not defamation if it's true. Keep going." I updated the petition, adding a call for anyone with evidence of Ethan's behavior to contact me. By June 20th, 2 former bakery workers sent emails. Ethan had pressured mom for money, even forging her signature on a loan document. My case was strengthening. At work, I used my paralegal skills to dig deeper. I accessed public records, finding Ethan had listed Sweet Haven for sale online, priced at $600,000, below market value, likely to dodge the lawsuit. I printed the listing, adding it to my evidence pile. I also contacted a real estate agent, posing as a buyer, who confirmed Ethan was rushing the sale. This was my opening. I decided to bid on the bakery myself, using my savings, $30,000, and a loan Tara helped me secure. If I won, I could freeze the sale pending the court's decision. On June 25, I submitted a confidential offer through the agent, outbidding a lower offer by $10,000. Ethan didn't know it was me, my name was masked by a trust Tara set up. That night, he texted, "Sold the bakery, Sophie. You lose." I smiled, knowing the deal wasn't finalized. The agent called the next day, confirming my bid was accepted pending a 30-day escrow. I had until July 25 to close, giving me time to win the lawsuit. Ethan's triumph was premature, and I let him bask in it. The community response grew. A local news outlet ran a piece on June 28, "Family Feud Threatens Beloved Bakery," featuring anonymous quotes from staff about Ethan's neglect. Sweet Haven's loyal customers organized a protest outside the shop, chanting for its preservation. I stayed behind the scenes, my silence fueling the storm. Ethan called again, furious. "This is your doing, isn't it? I'll bury you." I didn't respond, letting his anger simmer. Tara advised me to avoid contact, he was digging his own grave. By early July, the pressure mounted. Ethan's financials arrived via subpoena, revealing he'd spent mom's $50,000 on a sports car and a Vegas trip. Tara filed a motion to freeze his assets, citing fraud. The court granted it on July 5, halting the bakery sale. Ethan showed up at my apartment that night, pounding on the door. "You can't do this," he shouted. I peeked through the peephole, then called the police. They escorted him away, and I filed a restraining order. His desperation was my advantage. I prepared for the hearing, rehearsing with Tara. We present the affidavit, bank records, staff testimonies, and the rushed sale attempt. I visited Sweet Haven again, baking with the protesters outside, their support warming me. Ethan's manager quit, leaving the bakery unattended. I saw my chance. On July 10, I moved in temporarily, claiming tenant rights as the legal heir, backed by Tara's letter. Ethan arrived, screaming, but the police upheld my stay. His face twisted in rage as he left. My plan was working. The hearing loomed, and I felt a mix of fear and excitement. Ethan's lawyer demanded I drop the case, offering a $100,000 settlement. I refused. Sweet Haven was worth more than money. Tara warned me the fight wasn't over, but I was ready. My next move would seal his fate, and he wouldn't see it coming until it was too late. The week before the July 15, 2025, hearing felt like a marathon sprint. I woke each morning to a mix of dread and determination, my apartment a war room of legal files and coffee cups. The online petition had swelled to 500 signatures, and local news coverage painted Ethan as the villain, thanks to anonymous tips I'd fed them. Sweet Haven remained under my temporary control, its ovens humming again with volunteer bakers. Ethan's silence was deafening. He hadn't called since the restraining order, but I knew he was plotting. The courtroom would be our battlefield, and I was ready to win. Tara and I prepped tirelessly. We rehearsed my testimony, focusing on Mom's final days, Ethan's pressure on Grayson, and the financial evidence. She coached me to stay calm, even if Ethan's lawyer attacked my character. "He'll claim you're jealous or greedy," she warned. "Stick to the facts." I practiced in front of a mirror, my voice steadying with each run-through. The staff testimonies were gold. 2 former employees detailed Ethan's forged loan document, and a third recalled him bragging about outsmarting Sophie. Tara filed these as exhibits, strengthening our undue influence claim. The hearing day arrived, a gray Tuesday morning. The courthouse was a stark building, its halls echoing with footsteps. Ethan sat across the room, flanked by Richard and a slick lawyer. His glare could have burned holes, but I met it with a neutral gaze. The judge, a stern woman named Judge Larson, called the session to order. Tara presented our case first: Grayson's affidavit, the bank records, the rushed sale attempt. Ethan's lawyer countered, arguing Mom's will was her final wish, but his defense faltered when Tara introduced the forged loan. The courtroom buzzed as Judge Larson studied the evidence. My turn came. I took the stand, my hands clammy but my voice clear. "My mom built Sweet Haven with me," I said. "Ethan barely visited, yet he pressured her when she was dying. This isn't her choice, it's his greed." Ethan's lawyer cross-examined, suggesting I fabricated the affidavit. I stayed composed, pointing to Grayson's signature and the staff statements. The judge recessed to deliberate, and I waited, heart pounding, with Tara's reassuring hand on my shoulder. 2 hours later, Judge Larson returned. "The court finds evidence of undue influence," she declared. "The will is invalidated. The estate, including Sweet Haven, reverts to Sophie as the original heir." The room gasped. Ethan's face turned red, and Richard whispered furiously. I felt a rush of relief, but the fight wasn't over. Ethan's assets were still frozen, and he could appeal. Tara smiled. "We won the first round. He'll settle now." Ethan's lawyer approached during the break, offering $200,000 to drop the asset freeze. I refused, countering with full ownership of Sweet Haven and $50,000 for legal fees. They agreed, desperate to avoid a prolonged battle. By July 20th, the settlement was signed. Sweet Haven was mine, free and clear. Ethan moved back to LA, his car repossessed, and Richard cut ties, blaming him. I stood in the bakery, its warmth a balm to my soul. Reopening Sweet Haven was my next step. I hired back the old staff, launching a relaunch campaign on July 25th. The community turned out, buying out our first day's stock. By August 2025, we were profitable, with a waiting list for custom orders. I expanded the menu, adding Mom's unpublished recipes, her legacy alive again. Ethan sent a bitter email, "You got lucky," but I deleted it. His defeat was my victory. Reflecting on it, this wasn't just about the inheritance, it was about justice. My plan turned Ethan's greed into his downfall, proving blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. I moved into Mom's house, renovating it with her old furniture, feeling her presence. In September, I started a nonprofit, Haven's Heart, to support single moms, honoring her memory. Life felt full again. By October 2025, Ethan's life had unraveled completely. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that he'd lost his LA apartment, evicted after defaulting on rent, ironic, given the $50,000 he'd stolen from Mom. His sports car was repossessed, and his Instagram, once filled with flashy posts, went silent. Richard disowned him, cutting off financial support, blaming Ethan's greed for the family's ruin. I didn't seek this out, it came to me, a testament to my silence's power. One day, a tabloid article landed in my inbox, fallen heir's downfall linked to inheritance scandal. Ethan's name was mud, and I felt a quiet satisfaction. I focused on Sweet Haven, which thrived with a new line of holiday treats by November. The nonprofit, Haven's Heart, raised $20,000 in its first fundraiser, helping 3 single moms start businesses. Mom would have been proud. I hired a young baker, Mia, who reminded me of myself, determined, overlooked. She brought fresh ideas, and together we planned a cookbook of Mom's recipes, set for release next spring. Reflecting, this journey taught me vengeance is sweetest when it's self-made. Ethan's betrayal fueled my resolve, but my victory came from building, not destroying. Last week, I received a letter from him, postmarked from a cheap motel. Sophie, I'm sorry. Can we talk? I tore it up, forgiveness wasn't mine to give. My tables were turned, my legacy secured. If you faced a thief in your family, know this, patience and proof can reclaim what's yours. Share your story below. Subscribe to Revenge Tempest for more triumphs, and hit the bell for updates. If you faced family betrayal, this story's for you. It's not about noise, it's about strategy. Have you turned the tables on someone? Share below. Subscribe to Revenge Tempest for more tales of triumph, and hit the bell for updates. See you next time.